It was the kind of morning that made you believe in second chances. The sun filtered through the trees in golden streaks, birds chirped like a prelude to something magical, and in the middle of the community park, pastel balloons danced in the breeze. Today was Ella's 7th birthday, and for the first time since her diagnosis, she was having a real party, not in a hospital room or our backyard, but out in the open, surrounded by friends, games, and everything she'd dreamed of. Her laugh, bright and bubbly, echoed as her nurse adjusted the glittery tiara on her head. Ella had cerebral palsy, which meant her legs didn't work the way other kids did, but her spirit. That was pure fire. She wanted ponies, a pink bouncy castle, and a princess-themed cupcake tower, and I'd made sure she got it all. I stood near the picnic tables, watching her carefully wheel her chair toward the face-painting station, my heart swelling. We'd booked the HOA park a month in advance, filed every permit, cleared every rule. This was her day. And for once, I wasn't wearing a robe and sitting on a bench with a gavel. Here, I was just Ella's dad, quietly blending in with the other parents. I didn't want special attention. I didn't need people to know I was a circuit court judge. All I wanted was for my daughter to feel normal, to feel celebrated. That piece lasted about 20 minutes. I spotted her the moment she arrived, clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she'd just bitten into a lemon. Karen, HOA president, rule enforcer, and professional wet blanket. She stepped out of her silver SUV and scanned the park, like a general inspecting enemy territory. My gut sank. The storm had arrived. Karen's heels clicked sharply on the pavement as she made her way toward the cluster of picnic tables. Her eyes narrowed at the pony pen, then flicked up to the streamers we'd hung from the trees, her expression souring with every step. She was dressed, as always, like she was attending a board meeting rather than a child's birthday. Pressed slacks, a salmon blouse that screamed authority, and her ever-present clipboard hugged tight to her chest like a shield. She didn't even offer a hello before stopping in front of me. "These decorations weren't pre-approved," she said flatly, gesturing to the pastel bunting and balloons. I kept my voice even. "We submitted the plan to the HOA Events Committee 3 weeks ago. I have the email confirmation and permit with me." She didn't look at the paper I offered. "Well, I didn't approve this. And ponies. This is a shared community space, not a petting zoo. The insurance liability alone—" I interrupted, still calm. "We hired a licensed service, fully insured. All documents were submitted. You can double-check with Jared on the board. He signed off." Karen's jaw tightened. She turned her head toward the bouncy castle as it inflated. "That is definitely not on the list." "Yes, it is," I replied, pulling out the page with the highlighted approval. "We followed every protocol." She gave a thin, unamused smile. "Just because you filled out paperwork doesn't mean it's appropriate." Behind her, I caught Ella spinning slowly in her wheelchair, her pink cape fluttering as she laughed with her friends. I clenched my teeth. "It's her birthday," I said quietly. Karen didn't even glance at my daughter. "Rules are rules," she muttered, turning away and scribbling something furiously onto her clipboard. The tension was no longer simmering. It had begun to boil. The music started low and cheerful, a playlist of Ella's favorite princess songs echoing across the field. Laughter bubbled from every corner as kids bounced in the castle, chased bubbles through the grass, and lined up for pony rides led by kind-eyed handlers in matching shirts. Parents chatted with coffee in hand, smiling at the spectacle. And in the center of it all was Ella, her cheeks flushed with joy, waving at her friends from her wheelchair like royalty holding court. She had asked for this for years, a real party with decorations, music, animals, and games. And now she had it. For a moment, the world felt perfectly aligned. But then, the music stopped. There was a crackle, then silence. The cotton candy machine went quiet. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. The vendor frowned and walked over to the power source, a portable generator we had rented along with the equipment. He crouched down, fiddled with the plug, then stood and glanced toward me with an apologetic shrug. "It was unplugged," he said, just loud enough for me to hear. "Must have come loose, or someone pulled it." I scanned the area and caught a flash of Karen's clipboard disappearing behind the park shed. She emerged seconds later, casually rejoining the party perimeter, with the faintest smile tugging at the edge of her lips. My stomach twisted. The generator was in a roped-off area marked clearly, and no one had any business near it except staff. I didn't have proof, but I knew. I walked over, replugged the generator, and the music resumed. Ella apenas notó, demasiado ocupada riendo con su prima mientras sostenía un animal de globo. I forced myself to relax. "It's one glitch," I told myself. "Don't ruin the day." But it didn't stop there. 10 minutes later, one of the pony handlers approached me. "Sir, someone told us we didn't have permission to be here. A woman said she was with the HOA and that we're in violation." I closed my eyes briefly. "You're fine. You're fully cleared. Please stay." He nodded, but I could see the tension on his face now too. From across the lawn, Karen stood with her arms crossed, surveying the party like it was a code violation waiting to happen. I knew then, we weren't dealing with mere disapproval. This was deliberate. The sabotage had begun. Ella had waited all week for this part of the party. We'd hired a storyteller dressed as Queen Mirabelle, Ella's favorite character, to come read a personalized tale about a brave girl in a magical kingdom who saved her village using kindness and courage. As the performer took her seat in the story circle, a hush fell over the children, their eyes wide with anticipation. I guided Ella's wheelchair forward so she could sit at the front, right next to the storyteller, her face lit up, her fingers twitching with excitement. This moment was everything to her. Then Karen appeared. She stormed across the grass like a thundercloud, her heels sinking slightly into the lawn with every furious step. "This area isn't ADA compliant," she barked, ignoring the children, ignoring the crowd. "It's not a designated seating zone. It's not safe." I stood quickly, trying to intercept her, but she was already reaching for Ella's wheelchair. "You can't have her here. It's a hazard if the ground shifts." "Don't touch her," I said, voice low but urgent. But Karen didn't listen. In one swift motion, she grabbed the back of the wheelchair and tried to roll it backward. The wheel snagged on the uneven grass. The front tilted. Ella chillo. And then she was on the ground. Gasps exploded from the crowd. The storyteller stood up in shock. I lunged forward, dropping to my knees beside Ella as she cried out. Her palms scraped, her arm twisted unnaturally beneath her. Her tiara lay in the grass, bent. Her face was red, streaked with tears. Karen hovered above her, eyes wide. "I didn't mean to. I thought I was helping. She was blocking the—" "Don't," I said sharply, lifting Ella into my arms with every bit of care I had. "Don't speak, just step back." "I told you," Karen muttered, almost to herself. "This is why we have rules. You shouldn't have brought her out here like this." My jaw clenched so tightly I thought it might crack. I didn't answer her. All my attention was on Ella, who whimpered in my arms. A mother rushed forward with a first aid kit. Someone called for the medic team we'd arranged to be on standby. I cradled Ella gently, while the nurse checked her arm. "Might be dislocated," she whispered. "And there's bruising on her ribs. She needs to go in." Ella looked up at me through watery eyes. "Did I do something wrong, Daddy?" "No," I said softly, brushing her hair away from her face. "You didn't do anything wrong, Princess." Karen was still talking, trying to explain herself to anyone who would listen. I didn't care. The damage was done. not just to my daughter's body, but to her heart. This was her day, her one perfect day, and Karen had shattered it with the same cold authority she wielded like a weapon. But she had no idea who she'd just picked a fight with. The paramedics arrived within minutes. Ella clutched my sleeve as they gently secured her arm and laid her on the stretcher. I stayed beside her, whispering reassurances, trying to steady my voice. Her sobs had quieted to small hiccups, her brave little face streaked with dried tears. Karen lingered a few feet away, arms crossed, still muttering about safety concerns and park regulations. She hadn't offered an apology. Not once. As the stretcher rolled toward the ambulance, I stepped aside to make a call. My hands trembled as I unlocked my phone and dialed a number from memory. "Judge Ramsey," a voice answered. "It's Thomas Blake," I said. "I'm invoking emergency leave. I won't be on the bench this week." "What happened?" he asked, concerned. "My daughter was assaulted at her birthday party. She's injured. I need to be with her, and I may need the court's help with what comes next." He paused, then said firmly, "Take all the time you need. We've got your docket covered." I ended the call and turned around to find a small crowd gathered. Parents who had seen everything. A few of them looked stunned. Others whispered quietly. Karen's eyes locked on mine, curious now, maybe sensing a shift. "You're Judge Blake?" she asked, hesitant. I didn't smile. "That's right." "You never mentioned that." "You never asked." Her face blanched. For the first time all day, her certainty wavered. She opened her mouth, searching for something. Maybe justification, maybe defense. But nothing came out. I looked past her, toward the deflated bounce house, the scattered cupcakes, the empty pony pen, the remnants of a day that was supposed to be filled with joy. She had embarrassed a child, hurt her, humiliated her in front of friends and family. And now she realized the man she'd tried to dismiss wasn't just a father. He was a judge, and this wasn't over. By the next morning, the emails had started. First from concerned parents who had witnessed everything, offers of statements, video clips, even one parent who had captured the exact moment Karen yanked Ella's wheelchair. Then came the HOA board members, some scrambling to distance themselves, others apologizing profusely, claiming they never agreed with Karen's style. I didn't respond right away. I was sitting at Ella's bedside, holding her good hand while she rested, her arm now in a sling, her favorite birthday dress folded neatly on the chair beside us, stained and torn. By Monday, I had filed a formal complaint with the HOA, not just about Karen's actions, but about the board's repeated failure to enforce disability inclusion. Ella wasn't the only child affected. A neighbor whose son has autism shared how their requests for a sensory-friendly event had been brushed off. Another mum recalled Karen calling her daughter's walker an eyesore during a 4th of July picnic. These weren't isolated incidents. They were patterns. The footage spread quickly. A local reporter picked up the story after one of the parents shared the video online. The headline read, "Judge's daughter injured after HOA president mishandles wheelchair at birthday party." It went viral by afternoon. Karen's name trended in our county. Calls poured into the HOA office demanding her resignation. A petition followed. Then a special meeting was scheduled. I heard through the grapevine that Karen tried to claim it was all blown out of proportion, that she was only trying to enforce safety codes. But the tape didn't lie. It showed her yanking a wheelchair with no warning, on uneven ground, with a child inside. It showed Ella falling. It showed everything. And now, the people who once ignored her behavior were finally paying attention. The storm had landed on her doorstep. A week after the incident, I received an unexpected letter delivered to my office at the courthouse. It wasn't typed. It wasn't formal. Just a folded piece of lined paper, handwritten in careful script. It was from Karen. She asked for a meeting, not to defend herself, but to talk. I almost tossed it aside. I didn't owe her anything, but something about the last line caught me. I wasn't always this person. I don't know how to fix it, but I'd like to try. Curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet her in the courthouse's mediation room, a place normally reserved for small claims and quiet negotiations. She arrived on time. No clipboard, no heels, just a plain sweater and jeans. Her face looked older, tired in a way I hadn't seen before. She didn't waste time with excuses. "I lost my son when he was 8, she said, voice barely above a whisper. He had muscular dystrophy, spent most of his life in a chair like Ella's. After he passed, I threw myself into rules and control. It gave me something solid to hold on to, but somewhere along the way I stopped seeing people. I just saw problems to fix. I didn't speak. I let her keep going. I was cruel, not just to you, but to your daughter, and others too. I can't take back what I did, but I want to do something. Something that matters." She pulled out a folder. Inside was a draft proposal, new inclusive guidelines for community events, mandatory disability sensitivity training for HOA staff, and a plan to fund accessible upgrades at the park. She looked at me, eyes red. "I don't expect forgiveness, but maybe this can start to fix what I broke." For the first time, I saw a crack in her armor, a human being beneath the enforcement. Karen resigned from her position on the HOA board within a week of our meeting. But she didn't disappear. She began showing up at community volunteer events, not to lead, not to supervise, but to help. Quietly, without fanfare. The park where Ella's party had been held now had new signage indicating wheelchair-accessible paths, wider picnic areas, and soon, thanks to the proposal she'd written, a new inclusive playground space designed with input from families like ours. She didn't just hand off the plans. She worked with disability advocates, met with parents, even showed up at City Hall to answer questions. It didn't erase what she had done, but it proved something had shifted. Ella noticed too. Weeks later, while we strolled through the park during one of her better days, she saw Karen helping a boy in braces climb onto a swing. "That's the lady who pushed my chair," she said, watching quietly. I nodded, unsure what to say. After a pause, Ella added, "She's trying really hard." At the next HOA meeting, Karen stood before the community, not to defend herself, but to apologize. It wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't polished, but it was real. "I broke something that day," she said. "Not just a child's trust, but the spirit of this community. I will spend every day trying to repair both." Ella's new birthday party is being planned for next spring. It'll be smaller, more intimate, but joyful. She wants to invite the same storyteller. She also asked if Karen could come, not to watch, but to help decorate. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment, it's about change. Watching Karen rebuild from the inside out didn't excuse what happened, but it reminded me of something deeper. The law can correct behavior, but only grace can transform a heart. Ella gave her both, and through that, so did I.